Welcome back to another episode of Boomer Bust. I'm your host Terry, and today doing a little exercise where I rank the quarterbacks from the NFL, the starting quarterbacks, into tiers. So before we get started, I will have Miss Trubisky time coded for all the Bears fans if you want to jump towards that. But then also, if you want to check out the Patreon page, I started that campaign. Go to the description section, check out the website, consider supporting the channel. All right. So with all that being said, this is how it works. We are ranking the supposedly starting quarterbacks in the NFL minus the rookies. So there's a few teams that won't be on here, but we're going to be ranking them in tiers. And they will be ranked by number, but it's mostly about the tiers. And there'll be 4 tiers, and I'll kind of explain each tier as we go into it. And then I'll talk about the quarterbacks. But the most important thing to understand is usually I like to go into skill set, but I've said many times, especially with quarterbacks, it's hard to compare amongst each other because they're in totally different situations. So I'm going to play by the rules that were kind of set up, and this is going to take into account skill set, but it's also going to take into account situations, so injuries, supporting cast, defense and offense, all that stuff, division, all that good stuff. So, this came from The Athletic, by the way, and I'll link the original article in there. 100% their tiers as far as the definition and all that. I just kind of did my own version of it. So, with that being said, let's go over to the tier 1 quarterbacks. And at number 1, I got Aaron Rodgers from the Green Bay Packers. I know Bears fans going crazy, but look, as far as skill set, I think, especially in this group, you're talking about guys that are high-level quarterbacks, but might be losing something on their arm. I don't think Aaron Rodgers has fell off a cliff yet as far as arm talent. And as far as extending the play, he's, king number 1. You'll see guys like Mahomes and other people that are coming along. They all got that style from Aaron Rodgers. So that allows him to not only be cerebral when the play is there, but also when the play is not there, he's able to add his own flavor. And before I go forward, tier 1 is the team can win because of him. And so these are the quarterbacks, of course, top tier that you would say, despite their situation, they could get the team a win. And so going forward with that. And so as far as Aaron Rodgers' defense for the Packers, we don't know how they're going to gel together, but they added some talent, which I don't think is bad. And so he's got a Pro Bowl or All Pro tackle. He's got, one of the top receivers in the game. So, definitely got to get a nod to him right now. Number 2, Tom Brady. Look, I'm just not in the doubting Tom Brady business. Yes, he lost Gronk. Yes, the defense isn't, the most talented, but I'm not doubting Brady. I'm not doubting Belichick, and Brady's one of the most sharp. Breeze, same thing like Brady. Definitely a good supporting cast. Defense is on the rise. I do sometimes when I watch him think he's losing a little something on his arm, but definitely good enough to be towards the top. Andrew Luck, he got to number 4 because I just think his defense is better than Pat Mahomes' defense. They're on the rise despite kind of me not really seeing them that way, but I think they're on the rise. And, of course, the offensive line they put together is protecting him, but also can create a run game for any running back. And Andrew Luck is back to form. He's got all the skills you need for a high-level quarterback. Pat Mahomes, I think part of it, again, his situation will be interesting. I mean, he still got Kelsey and Tyreek Hill, 2, the top tight end and one of the top receivers. I think Kareem Hunt leaving hurt them a little bit, and so we'll see how he can bounce back from that. But it was tough because it's easy for people to want to put him here because he's the MVP, but it was 1 year, so the question was, like, what's the consistency? And I think that took him down a little bit, but overall, watching the film, understanding what you're looking at, Pat Mahomes I think gives you a nice blend of a lot of the top quarterbacks where he can make the correct reads, but he also can extend the play if the read isn't there. And I don't think he's one a quarterback just extending the play just because it's easier. And they're just trying to play backyard football. I think he was that way in college, but I think now watching the tape, he does know how to read. He has a good supporting cast. We just got to see what the defense does because they fell off a little. I mean, a decent amount. You know, you don't have the pass rushers you used to. You brought in Frank Clark, so we'll see what happens there. But it'll be interesting for the Chiefs. So 6, Phillip Rivers, defense way up on the rise. Never was like a bullet passer, so I don't think that hurts him as much. But he doesn't, have the mobility. But I think he has all the other tools. Russ Wilson, defense, man. I don't know what that defense is going to look like. He loses Doug Baldwin. I mean, DK Metcalf could be somebody. Still got Tyler Lockett, but I wonder about the O-line. The questions he's always had, and has proven that he can still overcome it, which is why he's in the first tier. But as far as situation, I don't think he has the best situation out of his group, which is what pushed him kind of down because he'd probably be top 3 for me otherwise. Number 8, Big Ben. Definitely see him losing a little bit of his luster. Doesn't have AB, doesn't have Le'Veon, but, still really good talent on offense. A pretty good defense as well with some stars. And I wonder what a year older will do. I wonder what a year older will do for Tom Brady. But if you're still talking about high-level quarterback play, all these guys can read a defense pre-snap. All these guys can adjust the play. All these guys can play in the pocket and, push it downfield, take what the defense is giving. They can do all those things. So that's tier 1. Going to tier 2. Tier 2 has a hole or two in his game. And the way they described it was that they can carry their team sometimes, not all the time. So inconsistency maybe through injury or gameplay. And so number 9, Matt Ryan. Definitely if you're talking about a hole or two in the game that's just not complete, you talk about the clutch factor. Sometimes you talk about the ability in the pocket and all those good things, or not so good things. But I think he is on the cusp of being tier 1. And I don't know if he'll ever get back to what he was that one year that he really clicked with the system. So I just, he's got Julio. He's got a ascending defense. So I like the situation and all that. I think he's better than a game manager, but I just don't think he can outplay the system unless it works for him. And then 10, Cam Newton. Cam for me, people, and this is why numbers really mess people up, because if you just look at the ending total without the context, you could talk about Cam Newton not, maybe being as talented as he was before. But when you realize, the type of injury he was playing with, then I think that puts in perspective, that he was having really good numbers before he got hurt. He had an MVP season. I think attitude is a lot to do with it. Talent-wise, situation-wise, Christian McCaffrey. I mean, they still don't have great receivers. He's never had great receivers, like as a core. But I still think he has a good enough situation, a lot of talent to where he could at any point click. Now, will he at this point in his career? I don't know. Maybe. He could have an amazing back end of his career. But anyway, he's 10 for me. Carson Wentz, injuries. That's really what it is. You got to take that into account if we're talking about situation. As far as talent, he probably could be a tier 1 quarterback. We just got to, see him stay healthy. And then Baker Mayfield at 12. And there'll be other rookies and stuff. Look, I had a lot of respect for Baker coming out. I think his mindset, his attitude, along with his accuracy and his athletic ability, I think it's a full package. I mean, he's definitely not at the tier 1 level where he can completely manipulate a defense and dissect it yet. but I do think he's definitely more than just a system guy, and his attitude won't let him just be a system guy. So, but you can see him win in many ways where he can move on the, or throw on the move, extend the play. He can, dissect defenses, to a certain extent and all those good things. So I think Baker, if he's on the trajectory he's been on, plus you're talking about adding OBJ and Kareem Hunt, and the defense adding, pieces, he automatically, I think, gets bumped up to tier 2. All right, so tier 3 is needs a strong running game or a strong defense or both to win. And we're talking about to win games, not just be good. And that's where Stafford comes in. We know he put up a lot of numbers before, and I know he can put up numbers. But we're talking about to win games, not just record, but also playoffs. He's going to need a lot more than just him passing. We've seen him go for over 5,000 and then not really mean much. And it's kind of hard to say because every quarterback needs run game and defense, but I don't think he's going to win you any games. Jared Goff possibly could be tier 2. We'll see. He got into a good situation. With Gurley, might not be in what he was before. We'll see. But before that, he had Gurley. He had a great defense and a star in Aaron Donald. The system, and that's the thing. I don't think the system just fixed Goff. I don't think Goff was broken. Goff played 7 games in his rookie year. I always argue about this. People wrote this man off in 7 games, but the unfortunate fact is we'll never really know, at least not now, what he could be outside of McVay. And so that kind of pigeonholes him, but he does have a really, really nice situation. In the 2 games against my Chicago Bears and in the Super Bowl, those are the 2 things that stick in my mind when I think about the ceiling for Jared Goff. Not to say that he can't get there, but he's not there right now. Deshaun Watson, Dak Prescott, tied for 15. Very similar situations, really ascending defenses, good pieces there. I would say Dak's offensive line and Zeke, of course, better. You could probably say Dak is a little bit above Deshaun, but I think similar situation where you just really don't know what they can do on their own. Deshaun in the playoffs got really exposed. I mean, he has Deshaun, D-Hop too, so there's that, but he got really exposed, and from what I've been saying for a while, I just don't know that and it's not that he can't get there, but I just don't know he's at that quarterbacking level of the NFL like the tier 1 guys, like I said, where he can do those things. I think he relies too much on extending the play and running and, getting the cheap, manufactured stuff. I don't know how much he can drive the ball and, or not physically drive the ball, but, make plays down the field. And that aren't just, Hopkins bailing him out. Not just say that's the only thing he can do, but I'm just saying right now, I don't know that he can make a receiver. I think he definitely needs, those guys around him to be effective. And when people take that away, we saw he becomes pretty flustered. Dak, kind of the same thing. We don't really know outside of Zeke. Amari Cooper, his numbers went up, but without a receiver, we saw him struggle. So, Dink and Dakin, I don't know. We'll see. Derek Carr definitely could be a tier 2 guy. We'll see, because it's a lot of outside stuff in Oakland as well that kind of, ends him up in that situation. And really, he's this low because the situation isn't great. He's got AB. We'll see how that is. I like Josh Jacobs, but the defense, I really got nothing but question marks. So I think he definitely has talent, though, much like any of these guys in tier 3. Nick Foles, small sample size, but you can't argue with not even what he did, but who he did it against. And he did it 2 years in a row. Not that he won the Super Bowl 2 years in a row, but, he did it in the playoffs 2 years in a row. Great situation. I mean, you're talking about having a run game and a defense, that kind of pushes him up this list already. So it'll be interesting to see. Mitch Trubisky from my Chicago Bears. He was a lot lower in other people's lists, but way better than some of these guys. And I'm gonna say this is a homer pick, not in the sense that he's my quarterback, I'm gonna pick him, but more so in that I've seen closer than the narrative that the media puts out, and especially this offseason looking at the film. And I was kind of thinking about this with Mahomes, not to say that they're the same, but the quarterbacks that can extend plays, they don't always have the same level of processing. So you think about Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, you're like, man, they're like elite at processing, but you got to realize they had to become that out of necessity. They don't have the luxury of extending the play. And so with Mahomes, the question for me was like, can he process on that level? Or is he just extending plays and making plays? And through the film, I think he can process. And when he chooses to extend the play, it's because it's the right option, not just because that's all he can do. And I feel the same way about Trubisky. Watching the tape, the interceptions, the runs, whatever, I think he was making the right choice. And he wasn't doing it just to do it. But the execution for Mitch Trubisky still has to come into play. So, but you're talking about athletically, you're talking about arm-wise, you're talking about all the quarterback abilities. Definitely in this group. And really with the defense, the run game, we'll kind of see with the run game. The O-line's kind of iffy, but I think he fits right well in this. Kirk Cousins, limited, got exposed a little bit last year when he had to be the guy. And he's better when he's managing the game. That's just kind of what it is. Joe Flacco, same thing. I think he started off hot, but good situation in Denver that puts him up above some of these other guys. But I think when the run game is good and the defense is good, Joe Flacco can do what you need him to. Marcus Mariota, I think he needs a defense, definitely. I don't know that he needs a run game. I do think the talent's there. I just think he needs to execute and unlock it. But I do think he's probably more system guy. Andy Dalton, again, I always think about AJ Green's crazy numbers. Obviously, he wasn't throwing them to himself. So Andy Dalton knows how to get the ball to somebody, but he's just not, the guy that's going to win it for you. Eli Manning on the backswing. And the only reason Andy Dalton was over him, because they're kind of the same to me, is Andy Dalton, I think their defense might be a little bit better. But the Giants defense is on there. But, they got Saquon, which is nice, but you lost OBJ. Andy Dalton still has AJ Green, Joe Mixon. So that's kind of how that played out. Jameis Winston, I'll see. I still give him a chance. I still think he has talent. I just think he is reckless with the ball. I was tempted to say backup just because that's where he got regulated to at one point. But I'm going to still put him in this tier. If you had like a dominant run game and the defense was up to par, I think Jameis could handle the managing situation without, going too turnover heavy. I think just when you give him too much, too many plays, that's when he might, be a little reckless. And then last, tier 4, unproven or best as a backup. Very important, unproven. And that's where you find Jimmy G at the top of the list. Some people talk about this, that, and other. He, played 8 games for the 49ers. He had that year with the Patriots, but just the sample size is way too small. I don't know. Honestly, I would like to tell you which tier I think he would be in, but I just do not know. Situation-wise, pretty good, but talent, really great. By principle, so number 25, forget that. It's more about the tier. I just don't know yet. Sam Darnold, I'm the same way. The original article labeled him as tier 3, but I'm just like, I don't know. I can't say that Darnold has to be a manager, behind a good system. I just don't know yet. Coming out, I had my issues and concerns. This rookie year, I saw those concerns happen. He might be trending towards a guy that's more managed in the system, but we'll see. I still think he has the mindset and the arm to be better than that, but we'll kind of see his maturation process. Lamar Jackson, complete question mark. Good, really solid. I mean, they lost a little bit on the defense, but still really solid supporting cast. We'll see. That's all I'll say. Josh Rosen, I would have had him over Lamar and Darnold talent-wise, but I just don't know what's going to happen in Miami, so that's why he's there. Josh Allen, we got a good enough sample size. He's super raw. We knew that coming out. The cast around him isn't great, so we'll kind of see there. But yeah, I think after this year, he might be just a backup. Then Casey Keenum, who has been a backup. So there it is. Those are the ones. Kyler Murray most likely will probably be the Cardinals starter. And then we tied 2 guys at one position. So that's the ones we're missing. And yeah, that's my rankings for the quarterbacks as far as tiers. So go to the comment section. Let me know what you think. Where would you rank these quarterbacks as far as these specific tiers, not your own definitions? We're using this definition. And yeah, go start the conversation, spread it around. Check out the Patreon, consider supporting, thumbs up, subscribe, and thank you for listening.